Artwork, critiques, Photoshop files, and reference sheets are all available on my Patreon. Welcome to the unboxing review of the Huion Kamvas Pro 13 graphics drawing tablet. So those lovely people over at Huion said, "Mikey, do you fancy reviewing our second smallest screen model?" And having tried a couple of 12 inches in my time, careful, I wanted to see what the second smallest screen size was like to work with by comparison. So in the post you can expect things to come in a slim packed card box, but this sleeve opens to show the display ready Huion packaging for the Kamvas Pro 13, and also a thank you card from Huion for selecting their products. It's got some website links and a little Huion-chan on the inside. The dark themed box has some cute cat and tiger illustrations on the front with some basic logos along each edge, and then a minimal bit of product information along the bottom section of the rear. The lid lifts off to reveal a layer of foam padding applied directly to the inside top section, and the 13-inch 1080p screen Kamvas Pro itself is the first thing you're greeted with inside a separate plastic bag. It's slim, feels pretty solid, and seems to have a silver metal rear case with a mix of plastics that feel pretty nice to the touch, and on the front another screen protector layer to stop things getting scratched. Underneath is a card separating layer from the rest of the contents, and the next thing among these is the adjustable separate branded stand in another bag of its own. This comes with an instruction card for use, but it's pretty straightforward, hinging open with some different angle options and a fold down lip to help support the tablet in place. Then you have the 8192 pressure levels tablet stylus pen, and the latest of Huion's Kamvas range comes with the PW507. Basically it's very lightweight and the same pen that you can find with their flagship Kamvas tablets. Then you get the donut ring pen pot with some spare nibs inside, a smudge guard glove for covering up your ring and little fingers to finally show some modesty around the house, and a further plastic pack which opens to contain a Huion branded cleaning cloth for keeping the screen clean, a driver instructions card that tells you to download the latest drivers directly from the Huion website, and the instructions booklet for the tablet itself, which I'm opening for you on camera but actively not reading whatsoever. Then separately housed is the all-in-one multi-cable, which is these days the standard for smaller portable model tablet screens. It keeps things really simple at one end with the tablet connection and splits off at the other for power, HDMI and USB to plug into your computer or laptop. And then there is the power plug, which in my case comes with a European and UK plug attachment option, and obviously this will vary depending on where in the world you order yours from. So overall, if you grab yourself one of these, you can expect to find in the box the 13-inch graphics display tablet itself, the metal desk stand, pen pot with nibs, the stylus pen, power plug with region-specific attachments, of course the Huion thank you card, stand instructions, driver instructions, branded cleaning cloth, modesty finger glove, the multi-cable, a warranty card, and the quick start instructions booklet. So overall that's everything that you would hope for out of a box, a good standard set. Of course a spare pen would always be nice just in case the first one got lost, but as it does not require charging you don't have to worry about keeping it topped up. And before anything else I'd like to take a look at this rather nice stand. This Huion stand, as you can see, folds flat in order to be easy to throw into a bag along with the tablet if you're an artist on the go, but also does very well at its job for long-term use on the desk. It has a metal main plate, feels just weighty enough to sit down on the desk firmly, letting the rubber pads grip the tablet to avoid shifting, and with the two different arms and 3 slots for each of them to go into, gives you a range of angles for your tablet screen. Now it does not lock the tablet into place, but rather just grips it with the pads and lower folding bar. The main thing is that it allows you to comfortably wrap your non-pen hand around the slider bar and quick access keys controller style, instead of having to do anything awkward with your lead fingers if it was to remain flat on the desk. And overall I was really pleased with the ergonomic positioning. However, I rarely found myself relying on these buttons, but more on that in a moment. In order to get cracking you want to start with the power pack and pop the correct plug end on it by sticking it in at an angle and rotating it into place. And then take the combination end of the multi-cable and plug the HDMI lead and USB into your computer or laptop, and the third lead connects to the adapter. As for the other single end, that USB-C plugs firmly into the side of the tablet. And so here is how the Huion Kamvas Pro 13 looks in a fairly spacious desk area with my other 27-inch monitors. The screen, as you can see, looks very crisp, and its overall size and angle means it's unobtrusive enough that it can stay in place when it's not in use. However, although it looks rather brilliant, I noticed that straight out of the box the contrast and saturation of the screen was very high. Something that I've started to see a bit in newer portable ranges from Huion and XP Pen. And this can result in you producing much less saturated and blander colours in your art than you think, unless you make a comparison check and look at your work on another screen. Now with this in mind, I took things over from an orange background to something with a heavy series of greens, just to confirm that there really is a strong difference compared to my other monitors. But this is easy enough to address. You can hold down the bottom switch function button on the quick access keys for tablet and it will pop up your screen calibration settings. And personally I found that I needed to up the brightness just a little and then really lower that contrast and saturation in order to get a slightly better read on my own work. Now I didn't fiddle around with this for too long, but I did find that I couldn't quite get it as close to where I wanted to as I did with my larger Kamvas Pro 20 screen. When plugging it in, my Windows 10 computer recognised the tablet screen straight away without any problems. And as with all of the smaller screen ranges, the other thing that you need to do is make sure that the desktop display is sized to 100% on the tablet screen in order not to mess up with the pen tracking. Then pop over to the huiontablet.com website to download the appropriate driver, and once installed, pop yourself through the setup. For me, I like to shift the pressure sensitivity curve just up a little bit as I make a lot of light strokes with my work, and ensure that the second button on my stylus is set to switch brush. Now you don't get too much to work with concerning those quick access buttons however, so I just set them to Control, Alt, Shift and Undo for the moment. And following that, Photoshop recognised the pen pressure sensitivity immediately. As mentioned, despite the high contrast and saturation, this screen looked great and had barely any parallax, making it feel like I was working right onto the screen surface. The rear of the tablet has a silver metal housing with heat vents and 2 rubber strips in case you intend to use it flat on the surface without the stand for grip. And of course you can flip this tablet the other way around for left-handed use, if you're into that sort of thing. The front has a hard smooth plastic edge with a slightly more tactile hard rubber strip with even softer buttons. These feel nice, but essentially you only have 4 hotkeys and the slider bar. Now this is better than nothing of course, and the slider bar to zoom in and out works well enough. However, I really just found that my left hand was going back to the old habits and simply resting on my keyboard where it had more options. However, the pen action on the screen of this tablet was really nice. I'm already a big fan of this model pen from other tablets in the Huion range, and am pleased that the experience of it on the screen was just as good. It's lightweight, does not require charging, gives you 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity, the buttons are easy to read just from your thumb, and it has a slightly flared area near the tip for comfort. The donut ring pen pot houses the spare nibs inside, but actually isn't quite as weighty as I would personally like, and although it doesn't hold the pen in place amazingly when it's sideways, it does sit upright firmly enough. But of course, as ever, I'm not really giving you a review from the point of view of a technical specialist, but really as an artist. So I sat down with this thing for the evening to work on an illustration, just so that I could give you my overall opinions on what the Huion Kamvas Pro 13 is like to use over time. And some apologies for the derpy start to my artwork, I didn't do any warm-up after a break whilst filming abroad. So firstly, let's talk about the screen size. You absolutely can get good work done on a 12-inch range tablet, which is really going to be closer to about 11.6 inches, but that is a very cramped work area. And I wasn't sure at first if slightly nudging things up to 13 inches was just going to be a gimmick to make another tablet for an extra $50 or not. Well, I did feel a slight difference. I would still personally prefer at least about 15.6 inches, which are tablets that are going to plonk you right into that middle zone of portable versus long-term desk work, but when size or price are going to be a factor, I think I would recommend pushing for a 13-inch model over a 12-inch tablet, as that minor size increase is going to leave you feeling marginally more comfortable over longer-term use, especially as your Photoshop menu options, depending on your setup, will occupy a bit of the screen area. So I am glad that it's an available option, but it's going to be down to you as a consumer to decide if it's worth an extra $50. Now, if you're just looking for an emergency backup screen until your main tablet gets fixed, maybe not. But if you are looking to get into digital drawing and think that you'll be using a small tablet like this for a while, then it's probably worth it to push at least up to this size. In terms of sitting down for a good while, I was really pleased with the stand design. I set it up and essentially forgot about it, which is what you want. But as mentioned, although it is made to use the quick access buttons more naturally and ergonomically, there simply wasn't enough there to make it worth my hand occupying the side too much. I found that with only 4 access keys, it was simply more productive for me to keep my left hand on the keyboard and do most of the zooming in and out of the piece just using the scroll wheel on my mouse, or holding the Z key for the stylus zoom. Now it is great to have the buttons, but I do think that 2 sets of 3, instead of just 2 pairs, would have made me taken them more seriously. Although I must say the actual feel of the materials of the button was very nice. The whole thing overall seemed slim, well put together, solid, with nothing too cheap or flimsy to mention in the construction at all. Now as for those all-in-one multi-cables, they do make life a little easier, but I must say that the end which splits off into the USB and HDMI leads isn't the longest thing in the world. Now if you're on the move with a laptop which is going to sit on the same desk surface that you're working on, it's perfect. But if like me you're going to be plugging this into your PC that's not necessarily right next to you, you might want to consider an extension cable. And you better hope that you have a spare USB port on the same part of your PC tower that has the HDMI socket. As for the driver setup, that was all great as usual. I have found that Huion's tablet drivers do tend to be rock solid over the last few years. And of course the main experience in my book is always going to boil down to the pen to surface feeling that you get and the overall responsiveness to your strokes. And I was a little surprised and pleased to find that it's virtually the same as when using my Kamvas Pro 20. Now of course that screen size is far more limited, but I was using the same lightweight pen which is in the ideal sweet spot of not having a spongy nib with lots of travel when depressed onto the screen, but also still giving you just a touch of responsiveness, instead of feeling like a solid chunk that you have to dig into the screen with like I found on the Bosto 16 HD. It glides over the surface of the screen well, and you do get just the slightest feeling of texture from the screen itself. So overall, yeah, I would recommend the Huion Kamvas Pro 13, especially in relation to the Pro 12 if your budget is going to allow you to nudge up. Now of course that 12-inch version I'm sure will serve you just fine, but I think for a long sit down and putting in a good number of hours into an art piece, I think the slight increase in space over time will probably ever so slightly lower your stress levels. Now it is great to take a look at an introductory tablet screen which is not forcing you to miss out at all on the most important part, that good pen to screen experience. Which means that with something like this you can focus on your artwork whilst the tablet remains nice and responsive. Now as mentioned, there's not enough buttons on the side, that multi-cable isn't quite long enough for me to use with a PC, and for the love of God, do make sure that you check out the contrast and saturation levels of that screen before you start doing your work. They were so high out of the box that you can make an art piece which appears to really pop, but when you look at it on another screen or upload it online, you'll suddenly notice that it's really dull and flat after all. So you do need to get that under control. However, a great big thank you to Huion for sending me the Kamvas Pro 13 over for review. And of course a great big thank you to you guys for watching this video. I really hope it's been of some use to you if you're trying to work out what tablet might be worth your money for getting into digital art. And make sure that you've clicked that subscribe button for all of my other tablet reviews and other art nonsense. And if you have any questions about this tablet or know a little bit about it yourself, get yourself in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Take care.